Hello, it's Scott Manley here with episode 22 of Reusable Space Program. So of course we're in the process of reassembling or relocating our ginormous Kethane mining operation, and that is going to involve a lot of driving around. Obviously I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but the idea is we're going to take this truck traveling across the surface. It can manage about 22 meters per second, which is, a respectable 60 kilometers per hour. It still takes a good 20 minutes to go from one base to the other. And with its current cargo capacity, the idea is we are going to move the lighting rigs using this. Now, the lighting rigs just happen to be small, self-contained. They arrived on their own engine power, but I understand that you can use the robot arm, the Buran Arm, to actually dock to targets that don't have docking nodes. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to pick these things up and carry them over there. And look at that. We can see the base from afar as we come over the crest. Over the hill, we can see what's sitting around. Now, night is falling, so it's probably important that we get some of these over to the other base, otherwise they will be left without light, and perhaps will have to defend themselves against monsters from the id, if you remember Forbidden Planet. So yes, this is going to be a very careful operation whereby I try to pick up the top of these things and deposit one of them in the cargo area behind me. Now, they're not going to dock, they're just going to sit there. It's going to be like a dump truck carrying this over. So I'm maneuvering the head using the camera. You see the camera in the top left? Trying to get it onto the top because I figured that that's a good place to carry it. So here we go, we magnetize, and it breaks. So let's assume that that was a simulation. Let's try that again, find a more solid place to grapple with these light sources. I figure the probe body is the place to go there, and it's kind of hard to figure out how to operate it, so I'm going to reverse up to it, having got the arm in a suitable position. Unfortunately, this does not steer very well in reverse, so I end up having to go forwards a lot, backwards a lot, and never in the direction that I want. The lunar rover that was used by the astronauts on the Apollo missions actually had four-wheel steering as well as four-wheel drive. It was pretty high-tech if you think about it. How many cars do you know that have four-wheel steering? I think I can count the number that we use on a regular basis on the fingers of my foot. There we go, just drop it in the back there, try to get it in, and kinda... Is it going to go? Yes! There we go. Well, it decided to pop the opposite direction, but it's sitting there comfortably nestled in the area that I had set aside for cargo. So we can now go and grab another one. We should be able to, by being able to carry two at once, we should be able to half the number of runs we had to make. On reflection, it might have been better to just have two different arms, or even four. It could be like a giant Doc-Ock thing. And this one, we're going to grab from the side, and the idea is we can just carry this behind us, or carry this on the robot arm. So moving it in, again using the camera to get in as close as possible, and once we're ready, hit magnetize, and there, look at that. Of course, if I do this too quickly, there's a real danger I could flip my vehicle over. You can see its suspension wobbling there. It'd be nice, I should probably have like lander legs if I do this for real. So I can flip those down like those giant cranes, right? They have the actual pontoons or whatever that come out and sit hard on the ground. We'll just stick it round behind me, hang out my butt, basically. I think that's us ready to set off for the other base. Another 20 minutes travel. You see the sun is heading down towards the horizon. As I said, night will be coming soon, and if fiction is anything to go by, night is when the bad things come out. They mostly come at night. Mostly. That's a really great impersonation of Newt from Aliens. I'm sure you'll agree. Yeah, she was a great actress in that movie. Only movie she ever did. Anyway, so yeah, we head off. We're going to try and go a little more carefully this time because we're carrying an extra load. Because this one is sitting around in the back, it is not entirely stable. Also, we've already pointed out the Buran Arm, the robot arms in general, have some dubious characteristics that occasionally cause weirdness. So the way I did this was I would drive a couple of kilometers, brake, save, drive a couple of kilometers more. Oh, almost falling over there. This time I remembered that there was an actual valley that leads me down rather than the super steep side, so I aimed for that instead. And you see, yeah, there's the groove. And in fact, I managed to overshoot the whole thing. But nevertheless, we are heading off towards our target with all deliberate speed. You can see the sun there. It's actually pretty good. There was a couple of times when weird things happened. And so here we are running at normal speed. Bear in mind, everything up to this has been 4 times normal speed. And just driving along, everything looking good, everything's awesome. Not even a bump! And this goes nuts! We get the whole Geddan style arm going nuts. Bits flying everywhere. And also notice that although I'm in control of the cockpit, my crew seems to have magically disappeared. I'm not sure what's going on here. That's what the camera is focused on. You see it flying like 50 meters in the air, or 50 meters per second vertically. It's on a pretty high suborbital trajectory. I tell you, what were they saying about the new NASA? Cheaper, faster, spread over a wider area. Well, I tried to do this fast, and this showed me getting spread over a wider area. Of course, this is all a simulation because this game save has become a little unstable. So I don't think that it's any evil here to save the game. Yeah, look at that stuff everywhere. It doesn't show the astronauts dying, so they must be somewhere. Really, I wasn't sure what to do, so I started trying to warp. I started to cut the spin because I figured I could time accelerate and stop the spin, but it wouldn't let me do that. It says I'm still under acceleration, which is bizarre. But yeah, I tried to switch vehicles and... oh, they're in there! Oh well. Maybe I can get one of these guys out so he can bail at the last minute and survive. Rockets! RCS! No! But he still bounces. Well, he made it out alive. It's a shame about the other ones. Yet this video actually has a number of glitches. Okay, we were dealing with exploding stuff last time. Actually, we were dealing with explosive time stuff 2 videos ago. There is a separate problem with this video, and I will explain it at the end. There will be a prize because of this. It was a huge mistake that I made, and I will have to pay penance. And so check the description of this video. There will be options for prizes, simply because I screwed up big time. So yes, well, as I said, that was a simulation. Let's get back to driving. As I said, we drive a couple of kilometers, save, drive a couple more kilometers, and eventually we end up getting within a few kilometers of our target. It's kind of awesome to watch the psychedelic light effects as the lighting systems interact between, two between 2 of these lighting rigs and the vehicle's own lights. Things flash and flicker, and oh yeah, there was a glitch as I actually loaded this to the camp, the second camp, which is still being set up at this time. Now note that the new system will be able to mine because it is entirely driven off of radiothermal generators. The old one could fill its tanks up if it wishes, but the sun is disappearing. Well, it's not really disappearing, it is going behind the moon. As the moon rotates, it is tidally locked to the planet Kerbal, but it is not tidally locked to the sun. Interestingly enough, a lot of people seem to, when you read about people developing sci-fi systems, there's a lot of people that like to have things tidally locked, and it does happen quite a bit, but it doesn't happen on solar systems. Like, people thought that Mercury was tidally locked to the sun for a long time. I was taught that in school, and the bizarre thing was, it was common knowledge even at that time that Mercury wasn't tidally locked. One of the problems is when they sent a probe to view it, it ended up in an orbit which visited it and took a photo, and then it came back a couple of orbits later and took another photo. But because it was a couple of because of the exact timing, it photographed it with the same side pointing at the sun. So all these books, these guides, they would show two different photos of Mercury, like separated by several years, and they both showed the same side facing the sun. And so a logical conclusion was that Mercury was tidally locked. No, it wasn't. It just happened that it's in resonance. It rotates 3 times for every 2 orbits. So anyway, we've deposited one of our lights on the surface. How awesome! How great is that? Now we only have the other one. I'm trying to put them about 150 meters away. That should give us a decent area to actually look at, to cover. Also, you noticed I clicked on the alarm clock for a second. One of the things I did do is add in all the launch windows for all the moons. Moho is coming up in about 6 days, but I don't think I'm going to go there. I'd like to go, but I think Duna is going to be... Not Duna, Jewel is going to be my first opportunity. The problem with Moho for a manned mission is that if I'm going to make it reusable, then I can't figure out how to get enough delta V, right? Because if you're going to go there, you're going to have to come back, and you don't want to discard stages because it's a whole reusable space program. So I guess I could go there and set up another mining base. Might be a bit of a tall order to put together in 6 days. Although 6 days is, you know, there's 4, so there's like 24 actual orbits, so it's almost a month. I don't know, I'm thinking about it. I was also thinking about putting together a manned mission with ion probes, but since I'm busy enough as it is, I lack enough time, I didn't think that was going to work so well. So here we are, yes! Come out! Come out from my storage area and deposit you on the surface. Let's look at it from inside the cab here, huh? Yeah, just straighten you out a little. You think it looks good? You think it looks good? Let's drop it. Oh no! Don't fall! Don't fall! Don't fall! Yes, straight up. Yes. Oh, thank goodness for autonomous lighting systems, eh? Literally, we have artificially intelligent lighting which will do our bidding. Not only will it turn on and off when we need it, but this one will detect that it's being knocked over by a kid running past it, and will self-right itself. I could use some of those at home because I have lost several light bulbs due to this. Well, I think that's us ready to go on another trip, but you don't want to watch another trip. Let's see what else is going on. Well, we have this half-complete moon base. We had 4 modules sitting in orbit, if you remember. So I want to go and pick these up. We have the tanker. Now the tanker was filled up previously, but before we ran out of the Kethane deposit, well actually before I changed games and nuked the Kethane deposit. So this is going to try and make a quick attempt to get to the target. And I'm going to fly this mostly manually because it's a very aggressive approach pattern I'm going to use. I'm putting it onto a 10-kilometer orbit here. It is the moon tanks are actually quite far ahead of me, right? So what I'm going to do is, after getting the orbits aligned, and you see what I do is basically adjust do a straight up transfer orbit, and by picking the location we can actually get very close to it very quickly with only a small amount of delta V. Now the only problem is the transfer node happens. There's no convenient ascending or descending node to actually perform the to perform the alignment before I perform the transfer. So I just basically go for it. I've already passed through one node, so I overcompensate, come back, and that gets me aligned in planes here. And you see it going very, very quickly. So now I've put a second node there to actually perform the... Well, actually it doesn't matter because I get close enough as it is. And yeah, get myself prograde. So I've already figured out when roughly to burn, and I'm going to use the rendezvous module to actually tell me how close I'm going to get to the target. Because all I'm going to do is burn prograde, and once my relative closest approach gets close enough, I will trim that until I am satisfied. And I want to get it down to like 100 meters. You know, I'm not actually doing any automated operations here at this time. I'm just looking at the information that is given me. Of course, once I get in close, I'll use the smart ASS for pointing, but no autopilot other than that. There we go. So this one, the idea is this has got plenty of fuel in it, and normally we'd be flying that back to the Artemis station, right? But the Artemis station isn't the place I need it, because we're going to dock it onto the bottom of these fuel tanks. We're not going to fill these fuel tanks themselves. What we are going to do is fill up the sky crane, the Arachne. Now, Arachne is, there's a legend in Greek mythology that says that I can't remember her name, but she's, you know, this great human, and she says, "I am the greatest weaver in the world." Oh, actually, no, her name is Arachne, obviously. And somebody comes along and says, "Are you sure you're the greatest? I mean, how about the goddesses? The goddess Athena, she's really good at weaving." And Arachne's like, "No, I'm more awesomer than her." So Athena comes down and says, "Are you, you know, I think I can weave better." And they have a competition, and Arachne comes out better. And Athena's kind of mad at this, so she turns her into a spider, basically saying, "You may be a better weaver than me, but now you're going to have to do it forever, and no one will think that the things you weave are pretty." So that's like a whole spider mythology thing. And that's why we called, you know, that's why they're called arachnids, and that's why we called our little space probe, our little sky crane, Arachne, because it kind of has the 4 legs that looks a bit like this. So this one has a very large correction it has to do, right? So you see what we do is we're putting it into a very high orbit, and because it's not that, I mean, it's not that high. The delta V is only a couple of hundred meters per second, but that means that we basically catch up with our target in one orbit. If you remember, this had previously just dropped off the space truck and had gone into a low orbit, so I was just trying to get it to rendezvous as quickly as possible. And so there you go. Yeah, if you can always, once you've got your planes aligned, you can always get an intersect with a single burn, but the question is how much delta V you're going to need to do so. Anyway, we're going to start delivering our modules, and the idea is it docks here, and it can take on fuel from the fuel tanker, right? So the fuel tanker is going to deliver fuel to this, where it's actually needed. So you see it? Loading the fuel up. Little did I know how much it's needed. Yeah, we'll talk about this once we get down. Now, you notice that the fuel levels on these engines show as very low, but the reason is, and you know, you kind of see that and you start to panic when you're hovering and you're realizing the fuel's getting low. No, the fuel's getting low because that large tank there is raising the maximum capacity. I tried to use landing autopilot, failed, was going to put me down completely the wrong place, so I went to manual control and decided and overshot a bit, but it was way better than landing 100 kilometers away. Again, we're in this situation. I don't know what MechJab's doing. So I'm going to use the translatron, that's the only thing, because we want to kind of fly low over the surface, and it becomes kind of hard to coordinate it. I've done it, of course, in the past, but translatron makes things nice and easy. I'm still going to have to kind of fly it manually. So, yeah, you see me trying to fly it manually, and I roll like 45 degrees to the right. Nope, nope, nope. That was a really bad idea. So we're now zipping over the landing site, and this is the autopilot trying to kill my lateral velocity. And I find that the translatron sometimes gets into an awful oscillation. If that's the case, you pretty much need to come in and control it manually to shut that stuff down. Cut that out so it can get back under control. So there we go, we're getting much lower, and we're setting our vertical speed to like -1, and we'll just kind of edge over there ever so carefully. 40 meters up, and we're just heading over. I'm just manually going to correct my velocity. I'm not going to rely on the kill horizontal speed until I'm really slow. There is... I should turn the lights on in this thing, shouldn't I? That was a really bad idea. It'd be really nice to know where this darn thing is, isn't it, huh? Has all this wonderful lighting on it, but none of it's being used. If it wasn't for the lighting and the command module, I would not, in the previous stuff, I wouldn't notice it. So there we go, we escape. And eagle-eyed individuals will notice I have 100% fuel, because I forgot to turn off infinite fuel from a previous experiment. I feel terribly embarrassed, and I will endeavour to make sure it does not happen again, but as compensation I will put up another one of my free game raffles. So check the description. I'm Scott Manley. Fly safe.